In my previous video, I talked about my net worth as an expat living in Korea, and because there was a lot of engagement, I thought why not do a follow-up video about what my net worth is in Canada. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Yvonne. I do have a lazy eye, so therefore if I'm not focusing directly on the camera, I'm trying my best. But there are a lot of disclaimers that I wanted to share with you guys. I forgot to film this part, but I wanted to mention that in no way, shape, or form am I trying to brag or show off my finances. There is no financial advice in this video. Whatever I am sharing with you is just for entertainment purposes. So always do your own research. My credit score when I first started my financial journey was at 620. That is very low. I am now up to over 820. So that is a testament to how far I've gone in my financial journey, my financial literacy, and the fact that anybody can be good at money. It just takes discipline and patience. Let's go ahead and get started. I will be talking to you guys about my financial privilege and how I got to growing my net worth in Canada to be over 6 figures. Now, my accounts are pretty much scattered and there are a lot of things happening, but before I get to the nitty-gritty numbers and what is inside my accounts, I'm going to talk to you about where I started and how all of this really matters to growing my net worth and potentially your net worth. My financial privilege, where did it start and what that looks like. Growing up, I had no privilege whatsoever. My parents were refugees that came to Canada in the 80s. That meant that growing up, I heard a lot of, we can't afford that, we don't have money, and most notably, we don't talk about money. So there are 2 ways that this could manifest in children if you hear that a lot. The first way is you kind of take those habits of being very frugal into adulthood. That's the first way. And the second way is because you were denied so many opportunities and things as a child, you begin to spend a lot more money on those missed opportunities as an adult. And it's really interesting because it seems that me and my older sister, we each went through different paths of these manifestations. So my sister is a very frugal one. She makes money. She doesn't like to spend it. She's trying to save for a better life when she's older and in retirement. For me, I love having nice things, so I tend to spend a little bit more on nicer vacations, nicer expensive bags, things like that. I have never been in consumer debt. I will say that I was in debt, and this was not due to student loans. So let's start from the very beginning of my financial journey. I had a part-time job in grade 12, my last year of high school, and every time I got a paycheck, I would put in $5 underneath my mattress. Don't ask me why I did this, but it felt like something fun to do, something fun to try out. And then the second year that I started my part-time job, I increased those $5 into $20. So every paycheck I would save $20. Now at this point in time, I was being paid bi-weekly, so 2 paychecks per month. At the end of the year, I would take out the money, count the money, and just add it into my savings account. I wouldn't really do much with it. I wouldn't go out and spend it. I wouldn't really invest it. I would just save it because in this moment in time, I didn't know what investing was. I knew a little bit about it because I learned it in business class in high school, but all I knew growing up was that stocks were bad, it was a gamble, and you don't invest because you could lose all your money, you just save. And again, my parents were immigrants, so all they knew was to save money. All throughout university, I worked part-time jobs, and this is where a lot of my savings came from. Pretty much, I would just sacrifice all of my social opportunities to work. And in hindsight, I kind of wish I didn't because I would have made so many great memories with my university friends if I hadn't prioritized work, but I just wanted to make money. I was a big workaholic. During this time, my parents asked me to take out a line of credit under my name. Spoiler alert, this is where the red flags started to come. I didn't know any better and I completely trusted my parents. And the reason why they wanted to take out a line of credit under my name was because as a student, you do get better interest rates than a regular bank loan. Now, as a disclaimer, I am not blaming anybody. I'm trying to tell my story in the most objective way that I can. University happened. I also got a loan from the government. It's called OSAP, the Ontario Student Assistance Program. This is where they were able to help me pay for my tuition, and we also got grants based on our specific situation as well. Every time I got an OSAP payment, I would just save up all the grants and pay off my tuition. And so all throughout the 4 years of university, I racked up around $30,000 in student debt. Now, thanks to me saving all these grants and also working my part-time jobs, I was able to pay off a lot of my student loans within 2.5 years of graduating. I also got a full-time job around a year after post-grad, and I was able to use that bonus money that I received from that job to pay off the rest of my remaining student loans. 2.5 years post-grad, able to pay off my student loans. I felt like I was in a great financial position. My parents were paying off the student line of credit for me because that was their responsibility. It was just under my name, or so I thought. So I went to the bank to talk about my line of credit, and it turns out that my credit score was at 620. And I was so confused because I knew that 620 credit score was really low, but I didn't have a credit card at that time. I didn't have a credit card, so why did my credit score become so low? And it turns out that my parents, they were missing payments. It wasn't because they could not afford it, it was because they were just missing the due date. I remember distinctively I was in the kitchen with my parents, and I think the due date was like the 26th. And it was a weekday, and I asked my mom if she paid for it, and she's like, no, I don't have time, so I'm just gonna go on a Saturday, which was 28th. And I'm like, wait, but that's past the due date. Like, it all started to make sense at that moment. Like, my parents were paying my student line of credit late, and that really tanked my credit score. And in that moment, that was a big moment for me, a learning opportunity for me, where I started to realize that I needed to take my own finances into my own hands. I can't really trust anybody when it comes to money, especially money or loans that's under my name. After that, I got a full-time job post-grad, and I started to help my parents pay off that money. I basically started to pay off the student line of credit on my own because I wanted to help out my parents, and I was already making money living at home, so it just felt like the right thing to do. I started to pay things off on time every single month. I finally was able to pay off $40,000 of that line of credit by the time I was 24. So the first 5 to 6 years of post-grad, I was paying off for the student line of credit. That is the first part of my story. So I'm 24 now. I paid off all my student loans, paid off all my student line of credit, got my first credit card at this point, also opened up a TFSA, which is a tax-free savings account. I also had friends who worked at the bank at this time, and they saw my account and they were telling me that I should invest my money. I had $20,000 in my TFSA just sitting there. It wasn't until I got a phone call from the bank, and the person on the other line said, why aren't you doing anything with your money? You should absolutely start to do something with it, because letting it sit there is not a good thing. And that was the push that I needed to start looking into investing. My first investment was one Apple stock in my TFSA, and I wanted to just experiment and see what it was like to buy a stock. And I used this opportunity to see how I felt about investing in the stock market in the first place. And I think that's the one takeaway I wanted to share with you guys in this video is allow yourself to explore and to experiment and to try out things at your own pace and time to be able to grow your net worth, because what works for one person may not work for you. Now, thanks to that one Apple investment that I made, I started to do more research on what other investments that I could do. So this included me researching more about the ETFs that were available, the bonds that I could buy, and I started to really look at this website called, I believe it was called the Canadian Couch Potato, and I started to follow like their suggestions, and from there it really just grew into me picking up my own stocks, my own ETFs. I will show you guys what my portfolio pretty much looks like. It is messy. You will question the reason why I picked the stocks that I picked, but it is a reflection as to my financial journey and learning more about financial literacy. With that in mind, let's go into what my investments look like and what that really means in regards to my net worth. Now, I will be sharing you guys my general numbers. I won't be sharing with you guys actual amounts, just so that I can still maintain a level of privacy. I will be sharing you guys my top 5 holdings in my Wealthsimple accounts, and the reason why I'm choosing the top 5 investments is because I have a lot in here. I don't want to bore you guys with the whole entire list, but if you are ever so curious about exactly what I am specifically invested in, then let me know in the comments below. So these top 5 investments will be on my Wealthsimple account across all of my accounts. That includes my TFSA, FHSA, and my RRSP. This will include both stocks and ETFs and things like that. So starting off from lowest value to highest value, the first one that I have is VUN, and this is currently at $2,384.23 Canadian. Next, we have XEQT sitting at $6,406.46. Next is Nvidia at $5,318.05 USD. It shows me this in US dollars. Next one would be Palantir at $5,541.12 USD. And this one gave me a gain of 78.68%. So from the time I bought it up into the current market price, it has grown up to 78%, which I'm really happy about. The last investment that I have in my Wealthsimple account with the highest value is VFV, sitting at $55,089.93 Canadian. And from the time that I bought this up into this current moment, it has gone up to 22.8%. I also reinvest my dividends or DRIP as well, so that has massively contributed to my six-figure net worth on my Wealthsimple account. But let's go on to my TD accounts. We're going to go through the same thing for my TD accounts, where I'll be giving you guys general numbers, but I will tell you that in my checking account I have $338.69, and this is just sitting there for years. I really haven't done much to it. And then my investment account is mostly in my RDSP. I will be telling you guys the top 5 holdings that I have in here. It's pretty much where the majority of my net worth sits in. My top 5 stocks that I have value-wise would be Tesla, and it's currently sitting at $9,248.36. Number 2 is VSP, and it's currently sitting at $11,888.80. Number 3 is Apple, and it's currently sitting at $14,871.74, and this is all in Canadian, by the way. My second highest value investment is Microsoft. That is currently sitting at $22,341.18. My top highest value stock is VFV, sitting at $55,222.34. So ever since I opened up my Wealthsimple account, it has gone up to 26.13% of all time. In regards to my TD accounts, it has gone up to 60.66% since the time that I opened up my investment accounts there. Again, none of this is financial advice. I'm just personally sharing with you guys what is in my investment accounts. Feel free to just go ahead and do your own research, but I also wanted to mention that because I have been in Korea, I have not been actively investing into my Canadian accounts. I have been mostly relying on dripping or reinvesting my dividends, and thanks to that, that has really helped my net worth grow while I'm here living in a different country. Alright, I'm gonna get real comfortable because this is where I want my video to land. This advice is going to apply for the majority of you, whether you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It doesn't really matter, because I don't often hear people say this. You do what works for you. I find that the more comfortable you are doing something, the more you're able to stick to something for the long term. So whatever I invest in, whatever works for me or whatever works for somebody else might not work for you. So this is where you giving yourself the ability and the opportunity to explore, to see what works for you, to experiment. Start with what works for you and what you feel most comfortable for you, and use that as a stepping stone towards bigger financial goals. Number 2 is giving yourself grace if you felt like you made a mistake. And this is important because we will make mistakes throughout our entire lives, especially when it comes to our finances. I have only sold one stock, and that was because I was following trends. And I've used that mistake or that learning experience in order for me to make future financial decisions. So no longer will I be following trends, but I will probably be doing my own research. This is not a bad thing that I made this mistake. If anything, it really helped me to grow to be a better investor. Number 3 is never stop being curious. Never stop learning, regardless of the age. If you stop learning and you stop being curious, you eventually stop growing. And this reflects in your net worth as well. And with that, I want to leave you with the encouragement to always remain curious and to never stop learning. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys in my next video.